right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live in effect. It is Thursday, so it's time for the Before You Go Pro Locker Room show, and we've got a great show set up for you tonight. Now, some of you guys may have been expecting to see Mr. Brandon Williams tonight, and this is somebody we're definitely going to have on, you guys. We just need to make sure that all the clearance is tight and everything is right so that we can have people on the show. We're bringing you very, very high-level people. So, a lot of times, whether it's a college coach, pro coach, player personnel person, we're going to have to get certain clearance for them to come on to the show. So Brandon's making that happen, and then we will be able to have him on either next week or the week after. Once again, this is somebody who was a legend at the University of Wisconsin, great Big Ten career, went on to play in the NFL, and then now is going to be working with the XFL. But we want to make sure we're not getting people fired. So first and foremost, let me introduce the one that's always holding me down, always on time, showing up, making plays, and that is none other than Q, the guru. What's going on, Playmaker?
What's going on, Coach? Hey, everybody. What he means is we had to call an audible.
We had to call an audible.
But it's all
we
good.
weren't going to leave y'all butt naked,
Oh,
though.
no.
We're going
to get this done. We're going to get it done. But no, it's all good. We'll have Brandon on and have a good time next week or week after for sure. And he's got a lot of information for a lot of you young players. So that'll be fun.
No doubt. I see some of our usuals in the house. We got Armando joining us. He said, "What's up, Coach? It's going down." Me and him been talking a lot lately. College football player. We've got Avocado Baby, and that is actually my sister-in-law joining the locker room show. And she said, "Love me some Thursday night." We got the Munoz family out of Texas. So, hey, we're hitting all the corners of the globe. Well, not the globe, but the country. And if you guys know any student athletes, if you know any parents, any coaches that need this type of information, please do not hesitate to tell them about the Locker Room Show. So, Q, we got some great topics, man.
As always.
We haven't done a show just me and you on the corners in a while, but we're gonna make it happen, man. And excited to get into this. So let's talk about the first topic. I mean, the transfer portal. For those that don't know, the transfer portal opens up December 5th after the championship games this weekend. And a lot of college coaches are already scared. You got an article right here, Q, where they're saying that SMU scouts are preparing for college football's unpredictable transfer portal. There's already schools preparing for guys to leave their school right here, Kentucky. Is saying, hey, we're going to keep you guys abreast. We got a tracker that's tracking who's coming in from the portal to Kentucky and who's leaving from Kentucky through the portal. So this starts on December 5th, and they get 40 days, 40 days to figure out where they're going to go next. Hopefully they get a chance to go somewhere else. As you know, some of them might not make it to another school, but last year, there were no guardrails. Kids can jump in whenever they felt dismissed, whenever they felt they weren't getting their proper opportunity. Mm-hmm. And now they're saying that's too much. You got 45 days after the season. You got a few days after spring ball, and that's it. What's your opinion, Q? Do you think that, hey, if I worked hard enough to get here, if I'm on scholarship or whatever, I should be able to leave whenever I want? Or do you think that there needs to be guardrails on this?
No, I think it needs to be guardrails, and they understood that, I think, because they saw it getting out of hand. It had to be some type of parameters that got tightened on the situation. But again, as we've been saying for some time now, Coach, it's a double-edged sword. Like as you just said, it's going to be a lot of kids that think that this is the best move ever. They improperly assessed where they're at and and are not really having enough patience with their current program. And it's going to hurt them. There'll be a very, very small percentage of kids that hop in that end up going to a better situation. And I think the guardrails is going to help a lot of kids realize that, but for some, it might be too late.
It's going to be interesting to see if it feels any different from last year, because last year felt chaotic. And
Yeah, it
now,
did.
and I know it did for the coaches too, because we deal with these coaches, and their head was spinning, man. My alma mater, University of Colorado, lost over 20 athletes. So
Wow.
there had to be some type of guardrails on it, but it's going to be interesting to see how this feels when they all go at once.
Right, right.
You got a
But
whole bunch of them.
right, but if you notice, it's getting more like the pros. They're windows. You see what I
Free
mean? That
Yep.
and again, that's going back even to what we're teaching here in the locker room show. It's
Yep.
business, but you have to learn this business way earlier in the game at a much younger age, because when you're in college and looking at this, because of these guardrails, there are windows, just like you have trade deadlines in the pros. So that's the way it is now. So they're making it more that way, but you have to have professional level understanding, even as a college or a high school athlete now.
No, that's a great point right there. So, hey, we got one actually watching the show that's in the portal. But if you guys are thinking about it, maybe one of your teammates or something, make sure that you're getting consultation. Make sure that you're not making the decision, you guys, where you're walking away from money. I got an HBCU athlete, Q, talking to him about this now. And he's logical. He's smart. He's like, I don't want to walk away from money. So, we're going through these conversations. Make sure you guys do too. All right. We are on to our next topic. And this one is something that is fresh off the press and happened last weekend. The Ravens have been struggling a little bit, Q. I think 3 losses in a row, and they've all been close. They've been nail biters. And supposedly there was somebody that was tweeting not too politely to Mr. Lamar Jackson, and he took the bait, Q. He took the bait and cussed the guy out. I think he used some language that had some anti-gay feel to it. And his coach came out on his behalf. But you know as well as I do, we talk about this a lot. Once we hit send, you can delete, but whoever saw it. And if they're screen catching it, screen sharing it, then you're done. So talk to me about Twitter after social media Q after a football game. In your opinion, especially after a loss, man, you know how these guys are getting hit up on social media. Yeah. In your opinion, do you think there needs to be some guidelines or rules as far as how soon access can be to your social media as a player?
No, I don't think it should be any. No, I mean, no, it's a free country. A lot of times, how should I say? Fans forget that we're humans too. But it's your job to be a professional, especially when you're looking at someone as prominent as Lamar Jackson. I'm not even seeing the tweets, Coach. You want me to tell you why? Because especially if I'm a marquee player, I have a PR person. I don't even touch so anything that comes through any of my social media accounts, I never even see it. So I don't care. My PR person handles that, and let him or her feel that. And maybe notify me, and we can have a conversation, and then my PR person can respond through my account accordingly. But I never initially even see it in order to get angry, in order to respond improperly. That's how
I like that. So you're saying that that they shouldn't have the privilege taken away, but once you get to a certain status, if you got a lot of people that are, if you're a high profile social media person, that you should have somebody else take.
100%. You should have a staff. Yeah, those tweets like that, or any comments on Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. Of course, you have your followers and what have you. But you never even see those messages. That's your PR person has it. You're supposed
now let's bring it a level down. What about high profile college kids that don't have access to marketing firms and PR people? Is there more emphasis on the colleges to make sure that there's some safeguards, or people, there's some filters, or same scenario?
No, hey kids, I'll tell you exactly how you handle that. Even if you're in college, you know what you do? You find some of the student body, your fellow students, at your university that are in the business program or that are studying in marketing. And guess what? You give them a
Okay.
job.
Okay.
You give
All
them a
right.
job and you start building a team around you, even though you're still in college. That's how you do
Okay.
that.
Okay. All right,
Easy.
you guys. So what Q is talking about is thinking ahead. And if you want to be high profile in this industry, then you got to play high profile and do the right things PR
Facts.
wise, public relations wise. And one of the big things you can do is get somebody mindful that's controlling your account. So I like that right there. We are on to our next topic now. If you're joining us for the first time, we were scheduled to have a guest on. We have a football industry guest every single week in the locker room to share the truth with you guys, to share that knowledge, to help you guys make success moves in this industry. Tonight, we were going to have Brandon Williams. He's probably going to come on next week or the week after. We just need some clearance. We're bringing in high-level people here. So we're going to cover these topics fairly quickly. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat, any comments. I know we got many of our usuals, so we love this. And this is for the community. This is for the football culture. So on to the next topic. And this is one that's near and dear to us, man, because there's guys that get that straight shot to the NFL.
Right.
And then there's guys who make money in other leagues, Q.
Right.
And
They
there's
can
some
take that different
fabulous
road.
leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some great leagues right now. I believe when we were coming out, we had the XFL, we had Canada, we had Arena League. Arena League isn't as prevalent, but we still got the XFL right here. List of former Tennessee Titans that got drafted in the XFL. So there's a lot of NFL talent in the XFL and these other leagues. We've got the CFL, we've got the USFL. So talk to me, Q. Is this a little bit oversaturated now? I know that there's not enough jobs in the NFL. I know that there's ballers sitting by the couch, but is it oversaturated in your opinion, or in your opinion, is it, hey, bring on as many leagues as possible?
I mean, if they're going to be successful, people are always going to watch good football.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. There's always been multiple leagues. Even if you go back to the 80s, the early 80s, you still had the NFL, you still had the USFL. The USFL isn't anything new. Like I always tell people forget, Donald Trump was a team owner. He owned the New Jersey Generals. That's why him and Herschel Walker are
was
such
playing.
best friends. Exactly.
Yep.
So it's nothing new. So even then, you had the NFL, you had the USFL, and you still had the CFL. So there's always been multiple leagues. So that'll never be where that's not the case. And to be honest with you, sometimes, Coach, and we've seen that a lot. It's some guys that are in the NFL that are there, but it's guys that are real dogs that just didn't fell through the cracks some kind of way and didn't get, didn't, whatever the case may be in school or whatever, that some of the best players is some of the best players that you've never heard of that are better than some starters in the league right now.
Good
so
point.
that's why I love these alternative leagues.
Now, we actually met in an alternative league. We met in the Arena League. So, if these alternative leagues don't last, it's even beyond the football field where there's friendships, there's front office jobs, there's things that are being created because of these leagues. But I want to take you back to that time because, some people would say, Q, that's delaying you making money in the corporate world. Some people may say, are you doing right by your family? Take yourself back to those Kansas days. You don't get the NFL shot. Would you change anything or would you do everything the same?
No, everything would be the same. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, you and I both, got our opportunities, with some NFL teams, and look where it got us. It got us, an awesome relationship with me, yourself, and a bunch of, other, men that'll be brothers to us for the rest of our natural life. So absolutely, we do things the same way. I wouldn't give that back for the world. And that's the opportunity, like you were saying, that these other leagues create.
Great point right there. So you young athletes out there that are thinking about, hey, I want to play some pro ball. Trust me, if you still got that football in your blood, it's worth it. It's worth it. Ride it till the wheels fall off. You got one short window. There's some great leagues, and they're paying some good money. Q.
I'm saying, hey, it
I,
is.
I think that you have to sign a 3-year deal. I don't think it's exclusive. I think you can still go to the NFL,
Right,
but the
right.
XFL, these guys making 70, 40, 70, 80K, and you're talking about 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months of your life. There ain't too many things you can do like that when you're that young. So you guys keep that in mind, and you guys support these athletes and these leagues, because these guys deserve it, and they're ballers too, like
Fact.
you
And
said.
and here's one more thing too, coach. And even with these leagues, with these players, it's still gonna be, NIL type of deals in regards to if you have a clothing company or you have a restaurant or whatever, these athletes are still gonna make additional money and have additional opportunities because they're
Exactly.
still strapping it up, and the opportunities are still there.
Yeah, and you're
So
getting
yeah,
that film.
you
You're
still
getting
getting
that
that
film.
film on top of that. Absolutely.
There you go. So, hey, you guys, there is room for these leagues. I know that they're not the NFL. There might not be as many fans in the stands, but it's making real money for people, and it's giving them real opportunity. So you guys go out there and support. We're on to our next topic, you guys, and this one is this one's big. This one's big because this man has been a stalwart. He's been a foundational piece for so many in college football for a while, but the great David Shaw, on the farm, as they say, at Stanford, has decided to retire. He's resigned after 12 years, Q, coaching at Stanford. Obviously had some higher seasons than others, but he decided to hang it up. And really, man, the angle that I wanted to take with this one is there's not many black coaches out there, as we know. I think the game of college football has about 75% black players on the field, but there's only, I believe, 12 to 13 black D1 college football coaches. And then we lose number 3, David Shaw. Now, the thing that was also very important about David Shaw was he was at a very, very exclusive university, you
Right.
guys.
Right.
And we may not see. Now we only have, I believe, let me see here, what is it, four Power 5 black coaches. We've got Dino Babers at ACC. In the ACC, we've got James Franklin, we've got Mel Tucker, and we've got Loxley. So only 4 Power 5 black coaches, Q. And this one was at the most prestigious
Yeah,
university
academically for
out
sure.
of
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's transcendent right there. And he did a great job. And obviously, me being in the Bay Area, we thank you, Coach Shaw. But do we ever see another black coach in our lifetime at a school like Stanford in the Pac-12? And then I wanted to ask you, what's your feelings, Q, about the gravity being a black head coach and the decision making process? And
Right.
what I mean by that is I may be ready to go. I may be paid. I may be ready. Wife
Right.
says, let's go on this trip to Tahiti.
Right.
And everything is set.
All right.
But I look at the landscape and it's not a good time to leave. What's your feelings on that? Should it always be up to the brother that made it that far and he handled his business, or is there almost an unspoken rule that hey, I gotta check the timing before I move because there's not many of me?
Yeah. I think the timing is extremely important. Um, if I'm a prominent coach, especially at a university such as this, again, obviously Stanford's had some good football teams, but academically is what really makes them head and shoulders above a lot of other universities. And to be a
Yeah,
black coach coaching at a university such as that, like you're mentioning, um, I as a black coach, that's a conversation I would need to have with the athletic director, like, hey, I need to take some part in choosing my successor
Mm, mm.
because of what I've contributed to this
Do you think
university.
he has enough clout?
After 12
To
years, absolutely. And
okay.
successful 12 years is at that.
Yes.
So absolutely. But that's
No
something
off the
to me.
field drama, no coach
Nothing.
drama, no
Exactly.
recruiting
So
drama.
exactly. So that's something to me that I feel like he's entitled to is, hey, I'm going to sit down with the AD on my way out the door because I feel like, personally, it is my time. I need to get back to my family and enjoy the rest of my life, beyond football. But I need to take part in choosing my successor and giving, it's not about, ruling any non-black coaches out, but in regards to any solid black coaches that are in the pipeline that are vying for this opportunity, I want to be the one that interviews them. I want to take part personally in choosing my successor.
I didn't think about that, and I do think that possibly has enough clout because he was also a player. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
I believe, was he under Bill Walsh? Maybe even under. I know he's a longtime player,
Yeah.
Bay Area Hall of
Yeah.
Famer. So I think
Yeah.
he does have enough
Yeah.
clout to
We're
at
gonna
least
have to
help
get him on here.
process.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
have to get him
and
on for
and and it's
sure.
going to be
For
real
sure.
interesting to see who they hire. As crazy as it sounds, I mean, they've had a black coach before, Tyrone Willingham. So
Right.
it's
Right.
not out of the norm. Stanford is going to try to hire the best person that they can find.
Right.
But Coach Shaw, thank you very much for your service because he held down the fort very well at Stanford
Absolutely.
University.
Absolutely.
So that's big. We're on to our next topic, you guys, and this one is a huge topic for today's climate. Today's climate, with what we talked about earlier, the transfer portal and guys being able to jump from school to school a little bit easier than in the past, opens up the dynamic queue where a lot of athletes want to follow their assistant coaches. Right now, there's I believe 12, maybe 11 or 12 FBS coaching jobs open. There's about 14 FCS coaching jobs open. Once those head coaches are hired, then the assistants get dominoed around, and
Right.
a lot of times, you guys, these assistants, they're going to bring their players with them, especially if they recruited them. Right here's Christian Gonzalez, possible top draft pick here shortly. He was a CU Buffalo. The coach from CU went to Oregon. Christian said, guess what? I'm going to Oregon. One of our very own, Elijah Cooks, all world wide receiver at San Jose State, just got first team all conference yesterday. He was at Nevada. He was Nevada star receiver.
Yep.
Their head coach moves to Colorado State. Their receiver coach gets the OC job at San Jose State and says, come on with me. So what's your opinion on this, Q? You sitting back at Kansas, you doing your thing, you balling. Coach who recruited you say, I'm out for Cincinnati or I'm out for Oklahoma.
Right.
And then your phone start ringing.
Right.
Are you listening? Or are you staying put?
I tell you what, no, I lived it. I lived it because I originally, when I stopped playing baseball, Glenn Mason had recruited me at Kansas. Was coming off an awesome year, ranked top 5, and he got the call to go to Georgia. Okay, ended up reneging, but he ended up going ultimately up to University of Minnesota, and make no mistake, met some awesome guys, at University of Kansas. But I mean, in my younger days, I did think back a lot like, hey, might have been where I should have gone up there where my coaches recruited me originally, where we got in coaches at Kansas that they brought in their guys and didn't know a whole lot about me, and I knew nothing about them whatsoever. So I always tell kids, if you have an opportunity to go, this is just my personal opinion. If you have an opportunity to go with your coach, go with your coach, because they're going to bring their guys. And a lot of times, at least what I've seen from my own personal experience, if you do stay, then be prepared with what comes with that. I'll word it like that, because sometimes your talent is not gonna always win them over, because they're just gonna be gridlocked in because they've already made promises. You see what
So
I
in
mean?
your scenario, you're saying head coach is gone, and now assistant coach has got a new job. Bounce with the assistant coach. That's your position coach. But what if we have the scenario: head coach stays, assistant coach gets upgraded to a new job? Like, for example, Ohio State's probably about to lose their wide receiver coach because he's
Right.
been pumping them out. He may go to Cincinnati, Brian Hartline. If I'm a young pup, if Q the Guru's son is a young pup at Ohio State in the
Right.
receiver room, he a freshman.
Right.
Hey, are you nudging your son? Go with Coach Hartline, or are you saying stay put at Ohio State?
I'm gonna always say go with your position coach, because that was the one that
Even if head
recruited you.
coach is still there?
The reason I'm telling you that, coach, is because they're the ones that actually took the time, and they know you. Nine times out of ten, the one that was at the kitchen table talking everything over with you and your parents, that was the position coach. That wasn't the head. Because I'm not saying, my mother, rest her soul, I had Coach Alvarez and all these other coaches, there. But in regards to the position coach that actually does the majority, the lion's share of the recruiting, that's who saw something in you. Exactly. That's who saw something in you specifically, and then reported back to the head coach. And then that's how we, so on and so forth with the recruiting process. But absolutely, the position coach, that's who you rock with, because that's who's rocking with you.
All right.
That's who's
you guys
rocking
are
with
getting
you.
some game.
You guys are
getting some game.
Absolutely.
A lot of y'all are waiting for Saban or Lincoln Riley to call you, but Q is saying the dude is the one that's your position coach, the one that's putting you through the drills every single day. That's the one that you need to hug close to.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
All right, you guys. So, hey, we are on to our next topic, and this is a new topic. Q the Guru ain't even ready for this one, because we typically have, what do we have for those that are rocking with the locker room show? We got lightning round. Right now is the time where we go lightning round, and it's our version of word association, and it's off the hook. But we're going to try something new tonight, since our guest will be coming back next week. So we're going to put Q through a little Hall of Fame or not. Hall of Fame or not. So how does Hall of Fame or not? So Hall of Fame or not is Q, he's the guru. We already know that. But now he's the commissioner of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's deciding by himself who gets in this year and who don't. And this is Q's year. So we talk about next year. Who's getting in and who's not. Now, here's the thing.
No.
He's got 3 nominees, and he only gets to choose one. He only gets to choose one. So it's going to be 2 people mad at Q for Hall of Fame or not. So here's your first group, Q. Hall of Fame or not.
Okay.
Are we putting in Big Freddie T, Fred Taylor, Florida, a superstar who went on to do amazing things for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Are we putting in the great Eddie George, the horse, who was at Ohio State, I believe won a Heisman, and then went on to almost win a Super Bowl with the Titans? Or are we putting in the great Priest Holmes from
That's my
University of Texas?
Yeah.
And then you from St. Louis, so Hall of Fame or not, you can only pick one that goes in next year.
That's tough. Being too, I had an opportunity with the Chiefs as well, so I'm always be partial to Priest, man. That's my guy.
Hall of Fame.
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. I'm gonna have to go this with. Ooh, man, Coach, that's tough. I'm gonna have to go with Eddie George, though.
Eddie George. Why are we going with Eddie George?
Just because of how long he carried the load. He did make it to a Super Bowl. Yeah, he he was the era, especially because that was the era of what you call this big backs. And he was such a force, man. Like that's the only man I've ever seen take Ray Lewis's heart away. So it's like he no off the field issues. He was never injury prone, and that's one thing I would have said. Priest, again, like I said, that's my guy. I met Priest all the way back when I was in high school when he's coming out of Texas, but towards the end of his career, he kind of started getting injury prone, which it's football, but Eddie George just was a horse, man. Like Fred Taylor was awesome too. Him and Mark Brunell and those guys, but yeah, I gotta go with Eddie George, man.
All right, so there you guys have it. Q said he's going with Eddie G, obviously the head coach of HBCU, Tennessee State. We got Jimmy, the great Jimmy Rucker in here. He said he's going with Freddie Taylor. He said the first one is the one
Fred
he
Taylor
don't want to see on the field. Yeah, he was definitely nice. So we got one more round, you guys, of Hall of Fame or not.
Let's
Once
see what
again,
we got, Coach.
this isn't fully replacing Lightning Round, Jimmy. I see he said no Lightning Round. He came in for the Lightning Round. This isn't replacing Lightning Round, but our guests, we're going to hold the Lightning Round for the guests. So the last session of Hall of Fame or not, we're going to go, Q, to the wide receiver room. The wide receiver room. And once again, it's the same routine. He gets to choose one. So for the running back, he chose Eddie G.
Wow.
And then for the receiver, who's in and who's the two that ain't?
We got Steve, Hines, and Anquan. That's tough.
Hall of Fame or not, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's see. Well, I tell you what, man, Anquan was, did it for a long time, always consistent for, a number of teams that he was with. Loved him with Arizona. I liked him even all the way back when he was at Florida State. I like Hines because people forget Hines Ward was a quarterback. And it was that typical, he's a black quarterback and he's athletic, and they took the ball out of his hands, and he made do and made himself a career as a wide receiver. But Hines Ward was 100% at Georgia, a great quarterback. Okay. And then you got Steve,
that's who Jimmy said to go with.
So Jimmy, I can agree with you. I'm going to go with Steve.
You going to go with Steve?
I'm going to tell you why. Because of what he brought to the game. He was the ultimate you can't beat me player. And it was the mental aspect of him. I mean, he's 5'9", $190, but probably stronger than half the linemen out there. And he just went out there with that mentality. He showed people the mental aspect of the game where you can't beat me. And they couldn't deal with him out there, man. I loved it. Man. Tough to line up on. I've heard, Akeem and a lot of guys be like, man, you go out there, hey, what do you say? Ice up, son. Go ice up. So yeah, man, I love Steve. He was electrifying, man. He really was. So yeah, I can go with Steve Smith on that one. Comfy.
Jimmy says best route runner out of the three, and a lot of DBs didn't want to see Steve,
Steve
for a full game because it was going to be the real deal. So there you guys have it. That is our first edition. We'll see if we keep it around, but the first edition of Hall of Fame
definitely.
Q is saying he's going with Eddie George out of the running back pack, and then he's going with the great Steve Smith. And who knows? All of these gentlemen may eventually get in, but that's a good choice right there. So unless you guys have a question, that is going to be it for tonight. Actually, I'm going to ask you one, Q. We're getting close to that time of year, man, where these kids have a decision to make. Do I play in this bowl game? Or do I focus on the pros? And I recently We had a kid that we've had some affiliations with playing at Oregon State. They're going to go to a bowl game, but
Okay.
I think he's going to get ready for the league. There's been a couple of other athletes that have said that. What's the cutoff for you? Because we've never seen it for the playoffs. We've never seen somebody say no to the playoffs. In your opinion, what's the cutoff? Is the cutoff because of the bowl? Is the cutoff based off of what round I'm going in? What's the cutoff on whether or not I finish with my comrades?
I feel like the cutoff is, well, depending on where you're at, what team. Like if you're in the playoffs, you got a ball because that's still the season, and those games in the playoffs, if you're those 4 teams that are left, you can still up your stock.
You can raise your stock. Okay. Yeah.
Huge.
Or degrade.
Absolutely, or drop. Either way, but you're obviously looking to raise your stock. So you'll see those fringe second round guys that make a big play. Now you're a late first round guy, and that difference is millions. Literally millions.
From Georgia, Pickens, that's with the Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
a lot of people found out about him for the first time.
Exactly.
Against Alabama.
Exactly. So it's one of those things. I feel like.
But are you saying the other one's not as much? The other game's not as much?
Well, no. See, here's the thing, because you got to go back, and you all, that if you're tuning in new to the show this evening, go back and check out our awesome interview with Ron Warner, fellow Kansas Jayhawk, and Ron was the absolute best D lineman in the country. Had like 22 sacks, and what happened? He went to the Shrine game, tore his ACL, and went from first round to 7th round. So that can happen, and that's a great subject matter that you're choosing, coaches, because sometimes if you'll know if you're an underclassman or a senior, you'll know if you're projected to go high. You'll know. Okay. That being said, if you're projected to go, especially within those first 3 rounds, bowl game, probably not. Definitely. And even if you're playing a bowl game, okay, and you're finishing the season out, in regards to an all-star game, senior bowl, anything, nah.
So you're saying
I'm getting ready for a pro day.
Thinking back to your career, you're in Kansas. If they told you, hey, Q, 3rd round for sure, then you're like, hey, unless it's playoffs.
Yeah, at minimum, I'm getting ready for pro day. It's because it's 2 again. And unfortunately, like I said, I was a freshman and we learned from Ron.
Yeah.
And I mean, even where I'm from St. Louis, we had this kid, you all can Google him. This guy's name is Tony Van Zandt. Tony Van Zandt was out of University of Missouri. This is way back in 1985, but back in St. Louis, we call it the Van Zandt rule. And this is back in 85. Hardly any kids that were 4 or 5-star athletes out of St. Louis from 85, hardly any of them played it. None of us played in any all-star games, all because of him. He was the number 1 running back in the country. He was number 1. Emmitt Smith was number 2. Tony Van Zandt played in the all-star game out of high school, tore his ACL, was never the same. So we always had this thing about either high school or college all-star game. Nah, it's too much risk. This is money that'll change your family's life forever.
Okay. All right. And we've got some high schoolers that are going to get some opportunities playing some all-star games. You guys got to weigh these things out. Some of you college kids that may view this video or be watching live, if you get blessed to be in a position to make money through football for your family, you hear Q. If you're 3rd round or higher, you might want to consider talking to somebody about your decisions to play in a bowl game or an all-star game. So hopefully you guys take that to heart. I see that we do have a question for
Armando.
Mondo, what's going on, Mondo? Question. He says, Coach Q, when do you feel it is necessary to enter the portal?
Armando, I'll tell you like this, my man. That's a great question. When you feel like that you have done everything possible that's been asked of you Okay, everything possible. You've been in class on time. You've made your grades. You're in the film room. You're not busting plays. You're making plays, and nothing seems to be budging. Then that's when you might want to consider, hey, that might be a possibility. But that's gonna do a lot. That has to do with a lot of soul searching, because a lot of these kids that are hitting the portal, they haven't done any soul searching, and they could have been better in other areas, and they're not looking in the mirror and taking the easy way out. But if you really feel like deep down, and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I've done all the things that I just mentioned, only then would I look at the consideration of possibly hitting the portal.
There you guys have it. So there's thousands, you guys. No BS. There are thousands of athletes right now in the transfer portal. And it would be interesting to know the percentage that have really done what Q the Guru just talked about, that really were truthful with themselves, looked in the mirror and said, did I give it everything?
Right.
Did I do, or was I acting up? Was I dropping the ball? I don't think there's many, Q, that are really having that serious conversation.
It's not because, again, Armando, it's a lot of these kids. You know why they're in the portal? They're in the portal because of arrogance, because of playing time, because of no lack of patience. I'm a 4 or 5 star kid. I should be starting right now. It's the ego portal. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly it is. But if you, that 99, and coaches would tell you this, 99% of these kids, they're in it because of playing time, because they didn't want to stay and scrap where they were at and win their position. They felt as though their ranking should have given them their position alone. Yeah, see, in college, you got to prove yourself all over again. Then in the league, you got to prove yourself all over again. That's the way it works. That's this game, man.
And Big Jimmy says, go back to the Akili Smith interview. He's dead on right there. Akili gave some great advice for those 100%. That are going to watch this considering the portal. So, hey, there you guys have it tonight. I mean, there's some big topics right there, you guys, that you guys should be able to learn from. The Twitter beef, stay away from the Twitter beef. If you want to go far in this game, you got to keep your social media tight. And then, keep in mind, who should you follow? If your assistant coach is about to chunk the deuce and go somewhere else, you heard Q, you might want to make a business decision. But get some consultation. Some consultation. So hopefully you guys got a lot out of tonight's show. Mondo says thumbs up for the Guru answer. And Mondo, we love you. And we've been talking about that. So we already got our strategy, baby. If you guys haven't already, you need to get off the bench and make sure that you hit the subscribe button for the YouTube algorithms to say, hey, the Locker Room Show is the bomb. So they can put us in front of more people so we can help more football players, more parents, more coaches know more about how to navigate this industry and this game. Because it's definitely an industry, you guys. Big time money, big time pressure and expectations. So you got to know how to navigate it. So make sure you hit subscribe. I believe it's right under Q. Tell your friends, tell your teammates, so that we can build this community together, you guys, and take this thing to the next level. So we are checking out big championship games this weekend in college. And then obviously these boys are getting close to the state title. So what you want to say to these boys, Q?
Hey, man, it's really time to make plays now. You got to get it done. Hey, you seniors still in it, deep in the playoffs, about to go to state. Man, this is it, man.
You just talking about big games.
I'm telling you, listen, I'm telling you, these will be the guys that are not on the map yet, and a game can change everything. One game.
Can you point to one game in high school that you felt like changed everything for you, or boosted you, or do you feel like it was just collective?
No, I feel like it was collective, but if I had a game stand out, to me, I would say it actually was against Hazelwood Central, which was, ranked, top 5 in the state of Missouri at the time, and had a pick in the back of the end zone and ran it back like 50 yards. And it was a huge play, huge game. And I feel like that was definitely one of the plays, to put me on the map for sure. But it's never too late, guys. I'm telling you, if you show up in the playoffs, man, state game, I've seen a kid, kids, in the state game, last game of the season, and just show up, and you pop up on a radar, and you get some money. That's all
There
it
you
takes.
go.
He's got
There
a
you
ball.
go. It could only be one game, that film, put some food on the table for
I'm
you.
telling
So
you.
you guys take it serious. We praying for y'all. Make it happen. Like Q said, like Jimmy says, you make plays, and we'll definitely see y'all at the top. You guys have a good one. We'll have another amazing guest next week. It may be Brandon if we get all our clearance straight, but if not, we're going to have somebody else blow the roof off this baby. So
Definitely.
you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see y'all next week in the locker room.